All right. Well, welcome in, everyone. We're back in the studio. We're back from Dallas. If you guys were following us the last few days, and travel was good. The 4th of July went well, and I was just kind of glad to get a break from everything, honestly. I was still live streaming, still doing what I needed to, but I'm happy to be here, happy to be back with important discussions. And today we're going to actually get into some technical details, right? Too much of the time I kind of just fear monger you, I guess, and I want to actually give you guys the formula, right? I want to talk more about what our agency does, how I help people, and how you guys can get involved with that, because that's very valuable information to have that can transform really the outcome in your life. If you're serious about AI, if you understand how important this technology is going to be, then tonight's going to be absolutely vital to listen to. Otherwise, you are giving up free opportunity. You wouldn't pass a free college education if it was handed to you. So I would hope most of you wouldn't want to pass on this. But without further ado, my name is Caleb Schilke. I'm the founder of Ascend. This is the Ascended podcast, and I'm excited to be here. This is your 24/7 digital sales machine. So I'm going to start out with a fact. Did you know that 87% of buying decisions begin with an online search? Think about that. And I've said that before, right? Before a client ever contacts you, they've likely Googled your name, they've scoured your LinkedIn, or they've checked your content on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever it is. In today's world, your online presence is your first impression. And if you don't have that, you are not going to be taken seriously, right? Just as if you had terrible content on your social media. It's even often before you even say hello to someone, right? Before they even know who you are, they see your digital presence, right? Relationships, right? You go and date someone, you see what they're like online. It's kind of a safety check before we get to know someone in real life. In fact, nearly 2/3 of professionals believe an online impression can be just as much or more impactful than an in-person meeting, because it tells a lot about what you like, what you're willing to be comfortable posting, right? What you're comfortable opening up about. Otherwise, you have to go discuss that stuff in person. But yet most people spend more time polishing their resume or that piece of paper, their business card, rather than their digital footprint. So let me ask you, when was the last time you audited your own digital identity? When was the last time you took the time to polish your presence? What shows up in your search results? What vibes your social profiles give off? What value your content delivers? And if you're not creating any, then what content you should deliver, right, to back your message. Even if you don't post content at all, you should still be considering these things. The reality is the vast majority of people never actively shape their digital online story. They scroll passively, they let the internet kind of tell their tale by accident, right? Meanwhile, the opportunity is wide open for people who actually decide that the time is right for them to take control. And that's exactly what I help you guys harness in. That's exactly what we try to do in the syndicate. And that 1% generates 9 billion impressions every week. The 1% of people that are active content creators get 9 billion impressions every week. Imagine the conversions, imagine the phone calls, imagine the clients you could get booked just by fixing a few things with your presence. You're saying it's so hard to make money, but what if you had an active presence that brought people to you? Instead of doing all this hard work of outreach, why don't you build a system that attracts instead of tries to beg, right? Talk about low competition and massive upsides. 9 billion impressions a week, guys, is nothing to take lightly, especially when you've talked so many times about trying to make money and do the side hustles. You just don't know how to leverage online traffic, but that's okay. Because most folks are stuck, right? They're stuck consuming instead of creating. They're just spectators in the digital arena. I was one of them too, myself. I was practically invisible online, and it was kind of holding me back. Today, I'm on a mission to change that for myself as well as you guys. In this talk, I'm going to talk about how I took the transformation from kind of a hidden consumer into a go-to authority in the AI and business space, and how you guys can do the same. If you don't know what I do, I'm an online consultant. I help old money businesses, right? Established family practices or businesses doing, 5 to 6 figures a month, revolutionize their practices, bring AI in to save 20 to 30 hours a week for multiple employees on payroll that they don't need to hire more people for. They can save money by adding efficiency to their business, and can give anybody really the power to make their own business. So this is the way the world's going. As much as, you talk about like cutting jobs and things like that, the space is wide open for anybody with AI and the knowledge to leverage it. And that's exactly what we teach in the syndicate. And this isn't hype. It's just happening right now for those that are willing to leverage content, technology, and just a little bit of courage. It's not that your job's getting claimed, right? Maybe somebody's coming after ways to make it more efficient using AI instead of the work you're doing. But there's also thousands or millions of potential avenues open with AI to start your own business, something you never needed college for in the first place. So by the end of this, you're going to see why controlling your narrative online really isn't optional. It's absolutely essential for anyone that wants to rise above the noise and to lead in the modern marketplace. Stick with me here, because this isn't just another social media pep talk I'm going to give you guys tonight. This is about taking back control, turning your knowledge, your story, the people you know, or a network that you could build into a powerful engine for growth, just by using AI to fill the gaps that would take so much work otherwise, that you can save and build a whole empire in your office space, just like I did here. As we go through my journey and the lessons that I've learned, I want you to imagine applying them to your own situation and kind of what that could do for your business or career. If you guys are ready, then without further ado, let's get right into the story here. So here's my journey from corporate cog to digital pathfinder, I guess. I wasn't always in the driver's seat of my own story. In fact, my journey started in a pretty traditional way, I would say. I landed a role in one of the largest organizations in the U.S., which is the U.S. military. I earned my Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from the Air Force Academy and climbed the leadership ladder. On paper, right, I'd made it big, right? I had the resume built, I had the credentials, right? I was doing consulting for my capstone. I had a stable job and a clear path. But inside, I felt in some ways just like a cog, right, in the machine, just another piece of the puzzle. And I didn't feel special, like you're always told, right? You're special. You can be an entrepreneur. You can make great things happen for yourself. You can start your own thing. You can break free. And I'm not saying I felt like I was held hostage by any means. I love the military, but it's just being like, it was just, I wanted more, right? I wanted that and a little bit more for myself. I didn't want to just be an employee my whole life. I wanted to build something else. I didn't want to just build my boss's dream, right? As they say. If you've ever felt that itch, that sense that you're capable than more than just your job title, then that was me, right? Sitting in briefing rooms and office rooms and thinking, this is it. So my wake-up call came slowly. I remember staying up late one night. I was just finishing a report that no one would probably remember in a week. I glanced at the clock. It was 11 p.m. And I thought about how I'd been trading away all my time and my energy. Something had to change. So I didn't know what it was yet, but it was a seed of a new mission, right? Something out of the ordinary, to break out of this 9-to-5 matrix that they call it, and to build something of my own. So I started side hustling. I started experimenting. I'd already sold a business up to this point, Daredevil Athletics. It's in my Instagram, highlights. You can see all the work I've done on those clothing brands that I sold, but I'd already been successful, but I didn't know what to do with myself now. So over the next 8 years, right, I launched 6 different businesses. Yes, 6. And most of them came, in the 3 years after this revelation. So e-commerce stores, consulting gigs, digital products, you kind of name it. Not all were successes. In fact, most of them weren't. And I had to just kind of give up after 6 months or so of trying. A couple flopped pretty spectacularly, where I put a lot of money in and they just didn't work out. Like I remember one was in the NFT space, and the market died in the middle of a project, and I just didn't work. It just didn't work. I vividly recall an online store I started too, that I poured months of work and kind of all my savings into it, just to hear the crickets at launch. And and to open the doors for nobody to show up. Sending DMs, right? I was outreaching. I just couldn't get anybody on board. The failure stung a lot. And it just sucks knowing that work that you do just doesn't lead to anything, right? Like trying the side hustle and then it doesn't work, you feel defeated. And then trying to go back out and get in the space again, you feel like there's nothing for you, that you're just running into walls. And that's kind of how it is for everyone. I'm not going to lie. So don't think you're out of the ordinary for that. Looking back, though, I really am grateful for the scars, because each misstep taught me something invaluable about what the world works or looks like, and how it works online and what doesn't. One of those ventures thankfully did take off. I built a small digital marketing service of about 3 or 4 figures. Right? I was only had a couple small deals of a few $100 or $1,000, and it surprisingly grew very fast. I had leveraged the ability to take AI and my consulting capstone experience from the Air Force Academy and go find some small businesses. And these are mainly like online creators, right? Like coaches. For instance, I had a dating coach I worked with. I still work with him. His name's Jeremy. And I helped him kind of add efficiency into his dating coaching operation. So just like little people online, right, that had side gigs, and I gave them advice on how they could take AI and make their businesses a little bit better. And it's just something I was playing with at the time. But more importantly, it opened my eyes to the power of digital leverage, because I'd already been using AI. In fact, I was probably one of the first users on ChatGPT. I remember talking with my roommate like the day it came out, and we were talking about this revolutionary technology. And then 4 months later, everyone else finally got on board, but I was probably one of the first people to use ChatGPT. And I realized, like, in that moment, I was still in college. I was like, dang, this thing could write my papers. I could do a freelancing business, copywriting. There's so many things I could do. I realized I could reach clients around the world and serve them in areas that I didn't have to do much work with, and do it all from my laptop, from wherever I wanted to be. I could create content once, a blog, a video, a downloadable guide, a PDF, and it would keep working for me 24/7, using my knowledge, but packaging it and doing all the hard manual labor that would take weeks or months for typical creators to put together. And I could help coaches that had traditional businesses make so much more money just transforming what they did with AI and the ability to create output with it. The first taste of making money online, it kind of felt like magic, right? And I already done that with e-commerce. I'd already sold clothing, but doing it with software, doing it with, literally just my brain's ideas and AI, and then talking people through with the consulting knowledge I had, and not having any physical product, right? When I wasn't shipping a shirt in the mail through USPS and seeing the money come in and feeling like I had to sell something physical. And instead I could just sell my ideas, the knowledge that I had learned, and leverage AI to help me be more efficient at it and help other people. That was crazy, guys. It wasn't millions. I didn't make millions, but it was just proof that I wasn't crazy to dream of something beyond corporate life. Once again, as I had proven with clothing already. But this could be not even a physical product, and I could go anywhere in the world with a laptop and make money. By 2024, 2 major shifts happened. First, I realized that this business was going to require a lot of work. I had to take the leap into full-time entrepreneurship and just make everything about this company, which is called Ascend, as you guys know. It was both exhilarating and terrifying, because I was giving up a lot of other opportunities to fully invest in this AI consulting business. There was no steady paycheck, right? I only had like 1 or 2 clients. I think it was actually 3, but there's no roadmap handed to me. It's just my vision, right? And whatever I had saved and learned about how to leverage AI. And I'd known more than most people about softwares, technologies, ways that they could make their businesses more efficient. And second of all, like, the world of tech had exploded. AI became mainstream like overnight, as I said, about 4 to 5 months later, after I started, and after ChatGPT came out. Tools like ChatGPT were everywhere, right? And I saw savvy individuals using them to 10x their output, and just as I was starting to do. And I realized, wow, this is going to get competitive. At first, I was skeptical about being able to continue and really fully diving into this. And I mean, was it just another shiny object? Was it like NFTs, right? Was ChatGPT really going to be an emerging market? But as someone who's always been obsessed with efficiency, I mean, in a military organization, it's all your day is planned down to the 10-minute interval. making your bed, right? Cleaning your room, doing everything as on point as possible. This was kind of what I geeked out on. I mean, who doesn't want to reclaim hours of their day, right? And get as much time and output out of it as possible and really live their life. I realized I could help other people with that, combined with my military knowledge. So I started dabbling in ways to increase my efficiency and help clients better than anyone else, and I went all in. My background in corporate and the military and the jobs that I was doing taught me one thing really well, that systems and processes are really everything. Here was AI, an ultimate tool to supercharge systems. I recall the very first time too, I integrated a simple AI tool into my workflow, into my own business's workflow. I was doing it for other people, but using automations like Zapier and N8N, it was like hiring an assistant, right, who never sleeps. And I started to realize AI could do more than just give you ideas. It could actually perform tasks. It could build an email list. It could send emails for you. You could link ChatGPT and have it do your accounting, balancing your checkbook automatically. It could do crazy stuff if you knew how to plug it in correctly. In fact, research shows that generative AI can boost productivity by over 60% on real business tasks. Let me tell you, I felt that. So suddenly, I was handling marketing, right? I was client outreach, content creation, admin, video editing, all of the hats that a business owner wears in a fraction of the time. And I didn't need 8 people working together. It was just me. And I eventually got my buddy Anthony, who was on my podcast, to help me out. But I was doing it all myself with no big issue. It was like I had cloned myself, the high efficiency version of myself, because I could program the GPT minus the extra coffee breaks. And this stuff could close deals, book clients for me all night. And it could answer my DMs while I slept, which is one of our primary products still, the appointment setter bot. You guys can message me about that if you want a bot that literally uses AI and ChatGPT, and not the like cringy GPT that is very obviously ChatGPT, but one that sounds like you, one that talks like a human, one that handles objections, one that convinces people to get on calls with you. We build that bot for people. And that was one of the craziest things that I had implemented in my own business. The combination of digital marketing and killer systems and AI automation was my secret sauce, and it still kind of is. It transformed my one-man operation though into something that could punch way above its weight. And I was starting to take on bigger corporations, like dozens of employees. And then I started going to these companies and I said, well, why do you have all these people? Why do you need this much input for that much output when you could 1,000 times one person's output? Without making them do more work. And you guys, you don't have to fire people. You could just become 1,000 times as efficient. And that's pretty clear ROI to most businesses. So over time, I went from hustling for every single client to having a machine that attracted clients for me around content and podcasts just like this. I'd wake up to find DMs from people. You guys could outreach to me. I have links in my bio, and that's kind of how I attract you guys, as well as ads who binged watched my videos, my live streams, and read my threads at 2 a.m. I even closed deals while I was on vacation, just like last weekend here, simply because my content and my automated funnels were doing the heavy lifting in the background, and they still are. That's when it hit me. This is the new way of business. And if you guys are trying still manual outreach, sending DMs, you're closing deals, you're running the accounting and all the sending emails and contracts by hand, then you're doing it the wrong way. And people like me, other businesses, are simply just going to outperform you. This was the only way forward. And thankfully, I had invested before anyone else to establish a name and become the face of this industry. Be so present and valuable online that opportunity finds you, and build systems so tight that you're not chained to the desk, right, to capitalize on it. That's what I realized with most coaches that I started helping, and eventually businesses. You build a system, right? Your only goal is to make money. And then eventually you start making enough money, and then it becomes making too much money where your time is restricted. You've just maximized your ability to trade time for income. You've handled the issue of making money, right? But you're still working yourself to death. So now people with money, the biggest thing they can buy back is their time. And these are the people I tend to work with, right? You've seen success, you want your time back, and that gives you true luxury and freedom because you have the money and you have the means to enjoy and spend the money. And your business grows at the same time because AI is more efficient than what you were doing in the first place. So we save business thousands of dollars very safely. I don't know if I could say millions yet, but for sure thousands of dollars easily every single month businesses are saving using tools that we're building for them. So let's fast forward to today. I run my own agency. I have the digital syndicate community with this philosophy at its core. And I've had the privilege to consult for coaches, right, and service businesses doing anywhere from like minimum 3 to 5K a month, maximum $250,000 a month, helping them reclaim at least 20 hours per week. Them personally, not only just their employees, that would be hundreds of hours by implementing AI and automation, right? Because a lot of times, right, you're a construction business, I'm trying to think, like a chiropractor, right? You're an accountant, you're a lawyer, you're an online fitness coach, whatever it is. You just try to sell your service, right? But then you start getting so many clients and your videos blow up, your outreach is coming in, maybe you have leads, maybe you don't even know how to outreach, right? But let's say you do and you have leads coming in and you're closing deals, right? The money's coming in, but then you realize I don't have any way to organize this. I don't know which clients are who. I don't know what clients are high ticket. If we even sent that email to Jim last week from, Nova Fitness or whatever it is, like who's sending what email, what's going on with this client. Most of your job, right, is just talking to your employees and your assistants and being like, where are we at with these things? And instead having AI automatically sort, process, develop updates, send emails, run your business without your input. That is what we specialize in. Not only do we find these things, we audit your business and let you know what other businesses in your industry have done and where you should step it up. But then we develop a cost-effective way to do that with AI. So it's a win-win because you know exactly what you're missing and you know exactly what to do to fix it. And likely it's going to save you money compared to what you're doing right now and give you your time back. And I don't say that to brag. I say it because I started as the furthest thing from a tech-savvy founder. If I could reinvent myself, so can you though, right? I wasn't this nerd and I wasn't like this old money guy. I was the translator between people that had money, maybe you guys, right, that have businesses that are starting to take off or what you would like to take off, and new tech, right? Understanding how developers work, how these automations work, and bridging the gap, right? We figure out how to talk to you, and I know the practices of older types of businesses. We can figure out exactly what your challenges are by talking and sitting down old school, right? And being able to take notes on what's really going on. And then we fully audit and develop gaps, right? And we write down where those areas are and we can talk to the developers to build a custom solution to make your business better. But this brings me to the reason why I'm here. How can you build your own 24/7 digital sales machine step by step and avoid the pitfalls that I kind of face planted into when I was getting started? So this is the digital revolution, and more importantly, why you can't ignore it. Before we get into tactics, let's just zoom out for a second. Why does any of this matter? You're probably listening, right? You heard my story, at least the most important parts of my story. There's more to it. I didn't tell you about my football career in high school, right? But I told you about kind of why we're here. But why not just stick to the old playbook, right? Just work hard, network a bit, go to your meetups, go to the country club, meet some people, and let the results speak for themselves. Well, here's why. Because the game has changed, and this time it's changed permanently. You just haven't seen that yet. But there's a delayed effect, right? And if you wait, you're going to get swept under the rug by people who are already using these things and shooting, right? It's like a car coming up to you on the highway, right? You don't see it until it's already passing you if you're not paying attention, but it's going faster than you are right now. We're living through a digital revolution that is flipping traditional businesses and career rules on their head, right? You're hearing about layoffs, you're hearing about people losing their jobs and having to shift to new markets, especially at the biggest firms, right? Google, Amazon, Microsoft, they're all laying off people. There are over 200 million people creating content worldwide right now, starting their own businesses, getting into spaces like this. The creator economy, which is just people building personal brands, online businesses, and audiences or coaches like I've helped, is already worth $250 billion plus. It's probably closer to 300 billion at this point, and on track to nearly double in the next few years. By 2028, I believe it's expected to double to 500 billion. That's how fast this thing is growing. So about 25% in a year. This isn't a fad. It's a fundamental shift of how value is created and delivered, especially with some of the smartest people in tech and finance losing their jobs. They're going to be competing as entrepreneurs in platforms that might take your business. So you need to be aware of these things. If you're an entrepreneur right now, a coach, a consultant, a professional of any kind, or you have a higher level management position at a business and you want to show value for yourself or add value to your business, Your online presence is your currency. And if you're not building a brand, if you're not even on LinkedIn or something like that, you need to be. Trust is the commodity, and you can earn it by showing up consistently with value. Studies show that 69% of consumers trust information from individual influencers over peers on what a brand says. So think about that, right? People trust you more than your logo. And again, if you're an individual influencer, if you're just a guy, right, that has his face, like Caleb Schulke here, talking to you on whatever platform you're watching this on, that's going to be more trustworthy than the Ascend brand. We have a very nice, very clean website. We have everything on point put together. But my face, showing up and pledging myself to this cause, does way more for you. I bet you can feel that just listening to this. People want to buy from people, not faceless companies. And we've all seen it, right? The consultant who shares insightful LinkedIn posts and lands a book deal, right? And a boutique agency that blows up on TikTok by pulling back the curtain on their process, how they package their baskets, how they take orders from TikTok, package them and ship them out, right? Content is leverage. Well-known brands are going to do better. And if you're not doing anything, content is the best way to start. A lot of times, right? You need some sort of inbound process because otherwise, most people aren't going to do a Google search anymore. The amount of effort it takes, it's easier to just let the feed bring things to you. And that's going to be the big movement in the future. It's the magnet that draws opportunities into your world. So yeah, even knowing this, so many talented folks hesitate. They don't want to get into content creation. They're shy. They can't get a studio set up, all the things it takes. And I get it, right? Putting yourself out there can be intimidating. Just time consuming, right? Maybe you don't even have the time, which shows why you would need to work with us. But you might be thinking, right, I'm not a social media person, or I don't have anything special to say. But in reality, I don't either. I'm just telling you guys my story right now. The first time I went live and I started talking into the camera, I remember my heart was pounding. It was my first YouTube video. I was far more comfortable behind spreadsheets, right? Class projects, more analytical stuff. And just talking to people in person than feeling like I was making something permanent online. But I realized something crucial though. If you're not visibly adding value online, then you're invisibly falling behind the people that are. It's still competitive. We're still playing a multiplayer game here. It's harsh, but it's true. You could be the best in the world at anything you do, pouring concrete, balancing budgets, right? Saving people money on taxes, but only if only your current circle knows, your impact and your growth are capped to how many LinkedIn connections you have. Meanwhile, your competitors or future competitors, because again, the world is changing fast and you're about to get outworked by AI, not even real people, unless you're keeping up. They're out there publishing articles, they're posting videos, they're sharing wins and lessons, and most of the work, 80% of it, is probably done by AI. And it takes them 1 hour while you're doing 5 hours of work. They're the ones showing up in that 87% of online research when clients look for solutions that I said earlier. If someone Googles for expertise in your niche or somebody that can help them, your interviews, your LinkedIn content that educates, inspires, the stuff that's relevant to your business, who do you think they'll reach out to first? Who do you think is going to pop up 80% of the time from the 80% more work that they're doing? They're going to be more visible than you will. And that's the only way to survive unless you're paying for ads. So let me illustrate how stark this is. How many hours do you think the average person spends on social media per day? Go ahead, say it, whatever you think. Maybe an hour? Well, it's actually over 2 hours a day just on social media. It's probably like 5 at least on your phone, but 2 hours a day minimum on social media. That's the average person, and it's climbing. That's 2 hours where, consciously or not, everyone is absorbing messages, forming impressions, and yes, deciding who they trust and where they want to buy things from. The biggest deals in their life, real estate now, auto purchases, insurance, right? Lawyers, they're all big things that are being sold through content online when you're in your passive hours of the night scrolling. So now you can either be one of the voices that they hear or just another face in the scrolling crowd. You could be gaining presence and getting free marketing by just putting your face out there with the same time you're likely also spending scrolling, or you can just be forgotten, essentially. You can be putting your face out there or being left behind. And once I fully understood this, playing small was no longer an option. I had to do physical presence. And it's not just about social media. It's not about vanity metrics. It's not about followers. right? The 500 plus LinkedIn connections. It's about digital leverage. One blog post alone can reach thousands of people. One video can establish rapport before you ever meet someone. One useful LinkedIn post can land in the feed of the biggest client that you've been dreaming of signing. And that's happened for me many times. It's happened where I've had CEOs and companies reach out because of a piece of content that just resonated. It hit that one thing that they were looking for, and they felt like they knew me. And, again, rather than starting cold on a potential sales call or a discovery call, whatever you call it, versus them already knowing how you speak, knowing what your ideology is, it's better to be present. That never happened when I was heads down, hoping my work would just speak for itself. I had to be brave enough to speak for my work, especially when I didn't have a presence yet. You had to go boldly into the storm. And that's why you need a consultant to show you the gaps that are missing. So if you take one thing away from that section, just let it be this, that the world has moved online and you need to move with it. You have to keep up. Your knowledge, your story, your unique perspective, they're all assets if used properly. Don't leave them locked in a vault, but just share them. The trust, the attention that you build are the foundation of a 24/7 sales machine that, when paired with AI, runs a business, and it's not limited to 9 to 5 or when people are awake. Anytime someone's scrolling, if they're in the buying mood and they're a high client that could work with you, that's the best hours because you capture them when someone else has to wait till 9 a.m. You have an advantage because you made a choice to invest in technology that is going to revolutionize the world and already is. Let's talk about building authority or kind of high credibility moments. When I say personal brand, I don't mean some fluffy influencer persona. I mean your reputation and your expertise demonstrated at a large scale. It's how you become the go-to trusted authority in your space. High credibility moments are those points in your content where people go like, how is this person so knowledgeable? Why do they know their stuff so well? They really are on point. We need those moments, especially on professional platforms like LinkedIn where credibility is currency. So how do you create these moments where people go, wow, they really know what they're doing? Well, you have to share insights and data that educate, just like I'm doing here, and tying them to your experience. For example, I often cite that more than 75 or 3/4 of companies now use AI in at least one business function. If you're not using AI at any scale, right, then you are in the minority of companies. And again, in a business where so few companies succeed in the long term, even if you've had success before, it's at danger if you're not fully integrating this. It's a powerful stat that signals that the industry is adopting these new tools fast. And I might follow that with a personal anecdote that at my agency, I've seen this firsthand. Even a 2-person coaching business can harness AI to automate their scheduling, their follow-ups, saving dozens of hours and taking on 20 to 30 people teams. Now, I'm not just throwing out the numbers, right? I'm interpreting what they mean for my audience. That's a credibility moment. I'm blending in the evidence with my expertise. And that's exactly what we have to have you do. So let's draft a few credibility building tips that you can use in your own journey. The first thing I would recommend is lead with evidence, follow with a story. So if you have a statistic or case study, like I just showed, then share it. Then explain what it means in practical terms. So for example, only 1% of LinkedIn users post content weekly, which means that even if you share only just one insightful post a week, you're likely ahead of 99% of people. In my case, committing to one LinkedIn article every week last year and going into it this year led to speaking invitations and inbound clients. I got featured on a couple podcasts. I got to put words in a few articles, and it's all because I moved into that 1%. The combination of data and personal results just screams credibility, right? In a world where, in a platform like LinkedIn that's so combed over, right, and that nobody's really posting much on. Demonstrate your methodology is the second tip. Don't just say that you're good at X. I want you to show how you approach X and what your methodology is behind it. People love the behind the scenes look at how the experts think. When I started talking about how I systematize content creation, like repurposing a webinar into 5 short form videos, right? 3 articles maybe and like 10 tweets, then it's not only that I provided value, but I showed how I have a repeatable process, which again is credibility. You're not just winging it, right? You're providing a framework behind that. So whether your domain is fitness coaching or financial advising, walk your audience through the process that goes on in your head so they can see that you've done this before. And if you haven't, if you're brand new in the space, then show them how you would approach it. It positions you as a methodical problem solver, and that's what we're going for. Third, kind of a smaller one, but cite influencers or books. This might sound counterintuitive, right? Why would you share someone else's ideas if you want to be the expert? But aligning yourself with known thought leaders creates that associative method and reinforces your message. For instance, I might mention one of my favorite quotes from James Clear, if you guys know who he is. He's the author of Atomic Habits, probably one of the most well-known self-development books out there. But you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And nowadays with AI, that's particularly true. Citing that, I then discuss how I build systems to consistently follow up with leads or consistently produce output for their content. What happens? What happens with that? The audience gets the double impact of a respected author's wisdom and my take to applying it. So I borrow credibility to build my own. And finally, number 4, show your real results, even if they're just small ones, or even if you're on the journey to getting your first testimonial. High credibility doesn't mean you have to have a giant moonshot success to your name. Just share a tangible result, even if it's just what you're doing to get your first client, and if it's relevant. I've openly just shared things like, by automating our email follow-ups, our team has increased our lead response rate by 40% in a month. It's specific, it's a real outcome, and it positions you as someone who delivers improvement and is measuring impact, right? I care about stats. I care about optimizing my business, so likely I'm going to care about what I do for my clients and your business as well. Think about wins that you've had. Did you improve a metric? Save time? Did you help a client achieve something concrete? If you do remodeling for houses, right? How much faster are you compared to your competitors? Can you share those results and how much more impact you have for the same price? That's how you show value and why people choose you over the competition. Share those stories, right? Even if it's just, helped a client land their first 10K deal is gold, because someone who is currently at $0 wants to see that you can position them in those spots. Teach through your wins and even your losses. There's going to be more on that soon. But remember, credibility is always about trust. On LinkedIn or any platform where your audience is more discerning, they need to feel like you're not just talk, but you have the walk to back up. For me, it was a turning point when I didn't just start referencing with what I did, but what happened because of it, and then backing up with evidence. Suddenly, instead of me trying to convince people that I was an expert, they were seeing it for themselves in the patterns and the results that I was sharing. And not only that, but just the fact that I was comfortable sharing what I was at. It's like, right, I have nothing to hide, so why would I not share what I'm doing? There's one more thing. High credibility moments just often come from vulnerability, ironically. And that's why it's okay to do and share whatever you're doing, as long as it's relevant. Don't be afraid to admit a past mistake or something you learned the hard way, just like I have here. It humanizes you and makes your advice more credible because it's battle tested. And they know that you're not just going to give up when you see your first failure. For example, I sometimes say, we've made a big mistake early on by chasing vanity metrics. I was just going for followers when I wasn't really optimizing for engagement. Thousands of views, but 0 conversions. It wasn't until we installed proper tracking and focused on the right metrics that we saw a 3 times ROI on our content. So by confessing that error, I'm not denying credibility and I'm not denting what I've built. I'm just boosting it. I'm showing that I've been through the trenches and I also came out wiser, which is why I'm more credible than other people who would give up when they saw failure. Okay, so we've talked about establishing credibility. Now we need to shift the gear into the viral side of things, and how do we create moments that grab attention? How do we make our business more well-known? So let's explore that next. If credibility is what makes people listen to you, which we just talked about, virality is what makes them remember and spread your message. Now, going viral doesn't mean that every piece of content must hit millions of views. It's more about creating moments in your talk or your video post that make someone stop in their tracks, lean in, or maybe even just hit the share button. Those are the sound bites, right? The little snippets, the short clips, the emotional peaks of the big ideas that stick. So how do you create viral worthy moments, and how do you do that in a monologue or a presentation like I'm doing here? I'm going to share a few strategies that work for me. First, lean in with a bold claim or a quote, and then justify it, right? You'll see people like Andrew Tate do this, right? The big influencers that just say something kind of bold and out there, but then they'll go back and justify it with evidence and show that it's not exactly, the crazy point that they made initially. It was actually kind of a logical thought pattern most people have, but they say things in a way that grabs attention. So you could say most coaches will be obsolete in 5 years unless they do this one thing. And then you can just go say, the one thing is consistency. This is the system we built for them, whatever it is. Just boom, you got their attention. You better believe that they'll want to know what the one thing is, right? Because if they're not doing it, then it's probably going to be relevant, especially when you said something big like that. But just, don't lie, don't make up stuff. Don't make it just hype, have a stance behind it. But viral moments often start with having the courage to make a strong stance. Second, you want to harness your emotion through story. Facts tell, stories sell. We remember stories far longer than statements. So earlier I told you my late night, right? Is this it moment, and kind of the corporate office working here, and the sling of my early business failure. I shared how it felt, right? The attention I had, the frustration, the drive for change. That emotional honesty is compelling, and a lot of people are afraid to get personal or vulnerable. So use that, especially nowadays where we feel so judged on social media. Take the audience on that ride with you. And when they feel something, they remember you. Third, use vivid analogies and metaphors. Sometimes a well-chosen analogy is what it takes to take a mundane position and make it into a viral soundbite. One of my favorites I use is, we live in a digital jungle. You can either be the predator or the prey, right? You have to be attacking leads. You have to be putting yourself out there. Otherwise, you're just waiting for other people to go steal those leads from you. It's a bit dramatic, sure, but it paints the picture, right? Survival of the fittest. And it is, right? If you're not using AI, other people will, and they will take your business. Suddenly, building an online business is like survival skills. You either hunt, right? You create content, you initiate engagement, or you get hunted. Your potential clients are lost to a more visible competitor. It simplifies the complex idea of digital competition into a visceral image. But, think about just concepts that are hard to grasp and ask, what is this like? And if you have a relatable metaphor, which I use all the time, then you kind of struck virality gold. And then finally, just kind of vary your tone and pace. This is more delivery than content, but it matters for virality. I don't just say things really fast and talk through all my sentences and get really deep on all these topics fast. I make points, and then I choose which points to reinforce. This comes from being clear and consistent on your content and things that I'll help you guys with if your agency clients of mine or just inside the digital syndicate. So yeah, we've covered building credibility. We've covered sparking virality. You might be thinking, right, this is a lot: content, brand, storytelling, automation. This is just a drop in the bucket of the things we teach, the things we work on with our clients, the AI systems we build to kind of do these things for you. But yeah, let's bring these ideas together into a concrete action plan. I'm a pretty big believer, right, in having a blueprint, just kind of a few steps or a series of actions that you can focus on one by one, really, to just avoid being overwhelmed. Consider this your TED Talk version of a workshop segment, or whatever you want to say, where we're just going to hand you the playbook. So I think this is 3 core pillars that I came up with. The first one is magnetic content and personal brand. So the first thing we want to do is have consistent, value-driven content that attracts your large audience. If you're an older business, right, if you've been established for a while, you might not think it's relevant, but I promise you, if your business is going to continue to exist, you don't have to be viral on TikTok, right? If you do, like wealthy, you do yacht sales, right? Most of your kind of Gen Z people are on TikTok. They're probably not the people with the money to buy those things. But use the platforms that are relevant to your audience. Don't be afraid to share your best insights for free, and differentiate yourself and be consistent to make an actual presence. Too many people are kind of afraid to give out all the sauce online on these types of videos, but that's exactly what makes people attracted to you. And what I would say, and this is Alex Hormozi's quote too, is provide as much value as possible. Let people come to you for the implementation of it. I can tell you exactly how to use AI systems, but if you're time crunched, which is exactly the problem I solve, then you're not going to have the time to implement this anyway. You're still going to hire me to do exactly the work that you need. And I'm better at it because you're not going to need to take dozens of hours to try to figure out the best way to install these systems when we can do this better than it would take, probably a couple months of your learning and expertise. You don't have that time, so it's better that I tell you exactly what we do and take the chance that you're going to pick someone else, but that never really happens. Second, I want you to create systems and automation, and this is leverage, right? Multiplying our time. You've heard it throughout this talk. Systems are your safety net and your force multiplier. So we need to start by identifying repetitive tasks in your business or workflow. If you guys want to work with me as a client, the first thing we're going to do is go audit everything you're doing and figure out where time is being wasted. What are the most repetitive, low labor tasks, right? Using the Pareto principle, 80-20. What are the 80% of tasks or the 20% of tasks that have the 80% highest impact that can be automated, and then giving you your time back? Can this be automated or streamlined? That's a big question. Often the answer today is yes, and it's just getting easier to automate more and more complex tasks. And we know the softwares and tools to do that when you would probably have to take a very long time to get familiar with them. So if you're just spending hours curating social media posts, you can use an AI tool like Opus Clip or TimeBolt to save hours of editing to still have a presence. And it's why I'll have 50 TikToks at the end of this live stream or this video that I'm making now. The idea is to create self-running engine for the routine stuff so you can just focus on high-level creative time, putting your face out there, interacting with clients. For example, the Closer bot that we build talks to your clients on Instagram, on TikTok, on text, email. It warms them up and it answers the objections. So by the time it deems your client is ready, it will then send a link to book a call with you. The client already knows exactly everything about your offer, and then you're not spending time talking to your clients, your potential clients. You're only talking to people that are booked, have shown interest, and know almost everything, and just need to kind of verify that face to face before they're willing to swipe the card. How valuable is a system like that to your business if you've been doing most of your time appointment setting and trying to figure out these things? And you can do all of that online over a Zoom call. Pretty valuable, I'd say, right? And that's what the best companies do, right? And even you can too if you're a solo operator. Automation isn't a luxury. It's quickly becoming standard, and I guarantee in 3/4 of organizations, if they're already using it, it's going to be essential moving forward. Don't be one of the ones still doing it manually. It's a recipe for burnout and limitation. As strong and as developed as you think your business is, there's so many going underwater now, and I don't want to see that happen to you. Finally, community and collaboration. We don't want to build this alone. And we need to find a community of like-minded people, right? That could, if you're an agency, you want to be an agency client and work with us, that could just be you and us working together. You guys have the industry expertise for how to sell and implement what you do. I have the experience managing businesses, owning and selling businesses. I also have the experience developing AI systems, auditing and finding gaps in your business from an outside perspective. And that's usually what you pay consultants for to begin with. But not only do I have the third-party perspective, but I'm also conscious of where those gaps might be because I've owned and sold businesses myself. I can pick out where the inefficiencies are and come up with a game plan that I can pitch to you on exactly where we'll go in and fix time wasted, as well as money wasted on payroll, on just inefficiencies, on ways to take software and do what one person could do times 1,000 and potentially leverage more clients for you. It's a direct lane to feedback. Community keeps you motivated and accountable. We make sure that these projects get done because you have another party in the game, right? And you're going to hold yourself more accountable to that growth. And you essentially become syndicated with us to success, where everyone's reach and influence grows together. I started my own community for this. If you guys are independent, you can just DM me about it or go on my Instagram, whatever it's going to be, and you can join our community. It's just an independent place for people, very low subscription cost, and you can get connected and networked with all these people for way cheaper than even LinkedIn Premium. So if that's an option for you guys too, but most of the time it's you and I working together on a custom solution. Now these pillars, right, they're powerful, but to be real, it's a lot to chew on. This video is kind of long already. So you might be strong in one area and weak in another. That's normal. Maybe again, you're very good at collaborating and networking, but you just don't have a strong social media presence. That's okay. The key is to start with where you are. And that's the first thing that I'll do when I work with you, to figure out what you're weak at, and we start coming up with a plan to push you further on that. If you have zero content out there, pillar one is your starting line. Just begin posting, engaging this week, even if it's just texting your thoughts about your business project, getting people engaged, letting them know what you do, and putting your face out there. If you're already creating but drowning in tasks, then phase two, pillar two, the systems should be your focus. You can just free up 5 hours a week by automating something simple. Join our syndicate and learn some basic automations to do that. Or reinvest your time, right, from that in higher value activities and make 10% more money from freeing up 5 hours of your time. If you're doing okay solo, but you feel plateaued, pillar 3 of the community and getting other advice, working with our agency, joining the syndicate might be the better option for you. Find your tribe, whatever it is. It could be a forum or it could be an actual syndicate like we offer. Meetups are a great way to do that too. Just go to physical business meetups. Country clubs have always been a traditional good way to meet other business owners, but things are online now. Meetup.com is great. LinkedIn's great. Just find ways to talk to people. So yeah, that's the blueprint in action, right? We have content, we have systems, and community creates a self-growing engine of leads and money, especially with AI connecting all of those. It's the closest thing to a set it and forget it success formula in any business that I've found, with the caveat that you never actually fully forget it. You keep tweaking and you keep improving your machine. That's usually something we'll do on a retainer, or we'll just come by occasionally and check in on it. But it gets easier and more rewarding as momentum builds, as AI gets better, as we can add more and more advanced softwares to your business. Now, you might be wondering, that it sounds great, right? But can I really do this? Is this going to work for me in my business? The answer is yes, in any business. I promise you that, because you have to take it step by step, and that's why everything's custom. Clarity comes from action. You don't have to automate everything overnight. But imagine it where you could be 6 months from now if you start putting these 3 pieces in place. A growing audience, right, that knows and trusts you online, that wants to come work with you instead of having to spend all this money on marketing. A pipeline that's bringing leads even when you're spending evenings with your family or working on passion projects or just on the boat, right? A support network that pushes you to new heights. We're an agency with us that we can find the gaps and help motivate you to implement. This isn't a daydream. It's a very real outcome that I've seen for those who commit to this path. So we're coming toward the end of the session here, and for the next part, I just want to leave you with a powerful vision of what's possible, and some concrete steps to kickstart your journey. I just want you to picture for a second your future self, a little bit down the road, the one who took action on what we talked about today. What does the future look like? Perhaps you become the go-to name in accounting or coaching or motivational speaking, right, or engineering, whatever it is, on LinkedIn, because of the insightful content that you share weekly from an hour of work, and the rest is AI done. Maybe you've unlocked hours of free time sipping your morning coffee, right, while an AI-driven system handles your appointment scheduling, nurturing your leads, and making sure they show up in the background. Maybe you're waking up to DMs from people who've been following your journey saying, you know what, I love what we're doing. I love what you're doing here. Can we work together? This isn't wishful thinking, because I've seen this happen for myself, more importantly, and other people. So I can vouch for you. This is exactly what happens when you align with where the world actually is, and not, some unrealistic view that you think is reality. This is actually happening. The digital train has left the station a few years ago, honestly, and it's picking up speed every day. So you have a choice. You can hop on it and steer it where you want to go, or you can watch it pass by and wonder, what if? And watch the other people who are using it. I truly believe that every person out here has something valuable that the world needs to see or hear. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. It's like having the cure for cancer. Would you not want to tell people that you have it? Of course you would. That's why I'm here. If you keep it buried, then we'll all miss out, right? And so do your business and career, right? You have something valuable. Maybe that can help me. Maybe it can help other people. So don't hide it in. Like, go share what you're doing. Share the lessons that you're learning. If you share and systematize it, the impact will, I promise you, be astounding. Embracing this path isn't easy, though. You're going to face moments of doubt. You're going to have posts that flop, tech malfunctions, right? Naysayers who just don't get it. But remember why you started. For me, it was about freedom of my time, my location, my finances, and the impact. Freedom from the old constraints on how to have a good life, right? Living a good life, growing a business, and the impact in the sense of reaching and helping far more people than I ever could one-on-one, using AI to leverage that, and social media to leverage that. When the doubts came, they sometimes still come. I reconnect with that mission, just to transform from just another professional with a resume into a digital leader in this space with a legacy. So if you guys are ready, these are your next steps, your actual next steps. First, start with an audit. DM me, outreach to me, just anything, right? Tell me that you're interested, and I will meet with you for free. We'll just talk about your business. Maybe I can help you. I'd at least love to give you some free advice on what we could do. The simplest way is just to take stock of where you are. And a lot of times you don't actually know really where you are. It's like, checking, thinking you know what's in your bank account and then logging in and you're like, dang, I forgot to spend money on that. That's what I'm here to do. I invite you to connect, guys. Just DM me the word audit or just send me a message about needing help and I'll try to get to it. Or just mention that you're, if you're commenting right on this live stream and let's connect. I'm offering a free kind of digital presence back-end audit for just anyone interested. This isn't really a gimmick, right? I'm not charging for this. It's a genuine offer to look at your profiles and just see, is there a way we can work together? Because I'm not going to try to offer you something. I'm not going to waste your time any more than that. And likely I'll give you some advice to take away. And it's your choice of what you want to do. I love doing these audits really because it's cheap. It's free, and it's the catalyst that sparks that aha moment for people where you're like, I never thought of that. What if that was what I was missing? I was going crazy talking to my wife or my husband about these problems all week, and this is the one thing I didn't realize because someone else with experience looked at your system. So don't hesitate. Reach out and let's chat. There's really no strings attached. There's no hard sell. Just mention that you turned into this video, right? This talk, and you just want an audit. And then secondly, join the Ascend movement if you want. That can be you can be liking me, subscribing to any of my channels or my LinkedIn, sending me a connection, whatever it is, or just commenting on stuff, showing your support, helping share our stuff, helping us grow. Just on your terms, guys. Tune into my videos, watch what you want on your terms, and I'm happy to talk. Again, just send me a DM, even if it isn't for an audit or you have a business yet. I think there's a great value that we can add to each other's lives just by having a good conversation. I can't promise I'll get to you immediately, but I'll try to get to everyone. And then finally, join the Digital Syndicate. If you don't have a full business yet, you're not an upper level management or somebody with making a few $1,000s a month on a business that could use hours or weeks back of their time, then join the Digital Syndicate to learn how to get started. I teach you the 4 phases of business growth. So that's how to identify your personal identity. So what I stand for, what my mission is in life. I mentioned mine is freedom and sovereignty and things like that. I try to free up my time and space. That's what I stand for, helping other people do that. And then secondly, I created a brand, which is Ascend. It's my presence on here with the podcast. It's all these things that add digital, attractors to people in my life. Third, I created a product, which is my agency. It's the Digital Syndicate. It's ways that I can sell that for money and provide value to myself as well as others. And then finally, the last phase is automation. It's leverage. It's using AI and tools, a basic, starting knowledge about how AI works, how to build automations, how to create, 1,000 times the value for one time the work. And if you do all those 4 steps, you'll at least have a new perspective about how to take any business and revolutionize it in the new world. Just something you're interested in. Right now, it's only $17 a month. It might have gone up depending on the tier that you're at or just how many people are in. But we have almost 400 people in the community, so it's going to be going up pretty soon. Again, you can just DM me Syndicate if you want more advice on it, or just join the free community. That should also be on my Instagram or in the link in my bio, whatever it is, and I'll share it in the comments too. But finally, guys, those are all the options. You kind of know which offer is best for you, but I want to bring it back to you one more time. This whole talk boils down to the core message. You have more power than you realize. The power to influence, to automate, to reach, to impact. It's all at your fingertips, thanks to technology and the digital platforms that are available to us. I've shared my path out, how I've done it, because it's really the only path, using AI. But because I hope it sparks something in you, that's why I'm here today, to bring this knowledge out. Take what aligns, just leave what doesn't, but do something with it. Thank you guys for spending time with me today. If you made it this far, you are exactly the kind of person that I love working with. You're open to learning. You're open to growth. And that says a lot about your character. And I appreciate you being here. So without further ado, the only thing standing between us, between you and your results, between us talking is your ability to click on a link, your ability to do something now. Show yourself that you can take an improvement. You can take knowledge and act on it, and let's get to work, right? And make the next 30 minutes, the 30 days, or 30 years of your life count. I appreciate your time today. Thanks for listening to this. And as always, I'm rooting for you. Take care.